20 years old. For me, this is a bittersweet realization for a few reasons. It's awesome because I get to be here right now, 20 years down the line as a relatively prominent content creator around this franchise that I fell in love with 20 years ago, and that continues to this very day. It's unspeakably cool to be able to share my passion for Halo with all of you and collectively experience this amazing franchise together. Whether you've been with the franchise since its launch 20 years ago, or if you're just joining us now as we prepare for the launch of the next big title, we have all found our way to this exact moment and shared celebration of the Xbox platform and the Halo franchise. It's a little raw, however, because there is so much of my childhood tied up in this franchise. So much of my memories and the best years of my life have been coexisting with Halo, and the realization that Halo is now turning 20 years old, and I was there at the beginning, drives home just how much time has passed. It reminds me that all those memories, my childhood, my carefree, perfectly imperfect teen years, when the world had yet to have tested me, were now gone. I'm older now. Life has dished me immeasurable joy and insurmountable pain in these past 20 years. Life has changed almost unrecognisably in the last 2 decades that have passed, for better and for worse. Yet the one thing that has been and remains to be constant is Halo. All the way back in 2001, the Xbox platform was released, and amongst its launch titles was an unassuming game with the potential lurking within it to revolutionise the console gaming industry several times over and smash records globally on several occasions. Halo Combat Evolved was a game so many of us played back in the year that it was launched or shortly thereafter. The game started like many other first-person shooters of the day, but this game had surprises in store that we were utterly unprepared for. We were introduced to the Master Chief, a Spartan II super soldier, and joined the story in the final months of the Human Covenant War when humanity was at their most vulnerable. Immediately following the destruction of humanity's military stronghold Reach, the Covenant, the alien aggressors hell-bent on the genocide of the human race, were on Earth's doorstep, and humanity's future hung precariously in the balance. The only thing standing between humanity and the abyss was the Master Chief, a 7-foot-tall, augmented and armoured warrior capable of inhuman feats and shredding through humanity's enemy like tissue paper, with the help of his AI counterpart Cortana. This engaging relationship between the talkative and curious Cortana and the strong and stoic Master Chief made them an instant hit and quickly accrued a strong and loyal following. But Halo wasn't engaging because of the main character alone. The innovations of the game itself and its environments stood out against practically every other game of the era. In most first-person shooters around the turn of the century, the environments were likely to be very linear, claustrophobic and constrained. High walls, low ceilings, a labyrinthine assembly of play spaces linked together to keep the player constrained within the play space. But Halo did something different and relatively unseen in the FPS genre to that point. The first level's tight corridors and claustrophobic halls of the Pillar of Autumn give way in the second level to rolling hills, beautiful vistas, and the unmistakable arc of a halo reaching into the sky and rocketing skyward, where the blue plasma streaks from beacons unseen to the eye at this point, suggesting to more areas to explore beyond. Subsequent levels gave us a hugely varied playspace, seeing us infiltrating a massive alien starship during a nighttime operation, searching the maze-like interior of the ring via an island facility that delved deep below the surface of the ring, and many, many more. I believe we can tie many of the game's early success to this sudden and stark contrast to many other shooters of the day. This carried over to the rich story and narrative of the game, and the levels of lore and information that could be gleaned the more you explored and discovered. These were the very foundations upon which a franchise of epic proportions could be built. Halo 2 followed in its footsteps of success and set the bar, the gold standard for multiplayer matchmaking on the Xbox Live service. You could more or less guarantee that you could mention Halo in conversation at the time, and someone would know exactly what you were talking about and have their own awesome stories of cool stuff and epic battles they had had online in Halo 2. We got to see the Covenant side of the story and play as a disgraced military leader as he learns the truth of the betrayal of the Covenant holy religious leaders. This shift in perspective was initially met with mixed reviews due to the step away from humanity in the Master Chief, but over the years, this is now looked upon as a pivotal and prominent moment in the game's history. It was in the Halo 2 era that I found most of my friends in my teens. I spent practically every waking moment either studying with them, hanging out and practicing parkour, or playing Halo with them. We had a clan of sorts back then, and I still look back on our time during Halo 2 and 3 with immense fondness. Hell, when Halo 3 arrived and Halo was hitting its peak, the golden era of Halo, it had finally dawned, and it seemed like everyone around the world knew about Halo. We enjoyed the best years of Halo's multiplayer to date, and finished the fight. We ended the war with the Covenant, ended the threat of the Flood, and kept our promise of saving Cortana from the clutches of the Gravemind, and with all that, Chief's fight was finally over. The multiplayer and the introduction of Forge paved the way for rich and enduring multiplayer experiences that stood the test of time. I spent I don't know how many hours of my life immersed in the Halo universe with my buddies at my side, playing epic big team battles on Sandtrap, intense King of the Hill games on Isolation, and strategic capture the flag matches on Valhalla, and everything else in between. We played custom games like Potshot, a mixed bag of ridiculous settings with increased player speed, reduced gravity, random weapons, and one-hit kills. The list goes on. Halo ODST, Halo Reach, Halo Wars 1 and 2, Halo 4, Spartan Strike, Spartan Assault, the Anniversary Editions, the Master Chief Collection, Halo 5 Guardians, and now Halo Infinite, just over 20 days away from launch. Over the 20 years that have elapsed since, Halo has delivered games, books, stories, comics, merchandise, live-action shorts, and more, all expanding the deep and rich narrative of the Halo universe. But aside from all this is the human story being told outside of the games, and it's equally as compelling as what's going on inside the games. These games, this franchise, has brought together people from around the world, from all different walks of life, people, souls, from across the world who have interacted and shared memorable moments with each other, have shaped and influenced each other's lives. Look at Halo, look at its community. Tell me where you'll find another franchise where people build entire suits of armor and cosplay from the game, where they build entire mods to the existing games or unrelated games completely, build completely standalone games but based in the Halo universe, spend hours creating art from the Halo universe, or music inspired by or mixed of the epic Halo themes. Those who spend weeks and months writing fan novels or designing ultra high quality CGI series and movies based around Halo, where people make props and replicas of weapons and various objects scattered throughout the game, where people actually build real-life working vehicles from the game and drive them around. The insurmountable level of data archived on the Halopedia website, the podcasts, chat shows, game nights, community events, montages, machinima, esports, websites, ARGs, minigames, the actual real-life working versions of Halo technology. Tell me another franchise that has this level of community engagement. The games are the foundation, but the fans, we took it to a whole nother level. Red vs. Blue, RB and the Chief, This Spartan Life, Halo music video Hell, Halopedia, Halo Wiki, Halo.bungie.org, Hidden Xperia, Halo Follower, Ultimate Halo, Covenant Canon, Halo VFX, Podcast Evolved, Finish the Fight Podcast, Krillcast, the 405th Division Cosplay and Prop Maker Community, Andrew DFT, Twopenny Props, Into the Prophets, Installation 01, El Dorito, SPV3, Haruspis, Uber Nick, Halo Kriya, Oath, Rythaze, Abby SV, Pixel Flare, Waypoint, Halo Subreddit, Halo Championship Series, and literally innumerable quantities of other equally awesome people have all come about as a consequence of a game. All of the developers behind the scenes, making Halo what it has become today. And yes, I mean the prominent names like the Frank O'Connors and Joseph Statons and Jason Joneses, Martin O'Donnell, Michael Salvatore, Kiki Wolfkill, Bonnie Ross, John Unisek, Jeff Easterling, Brian Gerard. Yes, the more prominent members, but also the hundreds, and I do mean hundreds, of other individuals playing important, irreplaceably significant roles in the development of the franchise over 20 years. Every single one of them brought together through Halo, whom otherwise may never have known each other existed at all, were united by Halo and for Halo. For me, there is an element of remorse and regret to realising that Halo is now 20 years old. And I'm confident that I'm not alone in that. 2 decades of Halo highlights how much time has passed and how distant our memories of our childhoods and teen years appear. How much was lost along the way. Life has a way of pulling you, sometimes forcefully, in a direction that we didn't expect. That definitely happened to me, and if our collective friends lists are anything to go by, it happened to our brothers in arms as well. Some of our old battle buddies have been offline for years. And I'm not saying that that's our fault or their fault or that getting on with life is a bad thing. Of course it's not. But life continues and life goes on and other commitments and responsibilities come up and we must attend to them. Life can give us great gifts and crushing blows. But it is all sweetness to living time. But just because life can sweep us up and carry us into different directions, that doesn't mean we can't always go back and reconnect with that part of us that once had been lost. Back when we were kids, when life hadn't gotten in the way, when the confrontational aspects of life hadn't shaped us and conditioned us. You can still love the life you've grown into and miss all that was familiar from your past. Halo was born and was developed to instill awe and wonder and fascination and thrill, the things we lose touch with as we grow. And you can relive that by simply picking up a controller and spending a few hours within the Halo universe. That is immeasurably powerful, immeasurably significant, immeasurably important. As a child or teenagers, you have little to no commitments, no bills, no responsibilities. You live freely, without fear, without boundary. That is what Halo is. And its integral relationship with our childhoods, it's what it gave us. An existence away from responsibilities, a life of freedom and possibility, without boundaries, without burdens. And all of these memories are most immediately triggered by the things we experienced at the time, by the games that defined our childhood, by the multiplayer maps, the campaign levels, by the ambience, the beautiful vistas, every song that invokes a memory, every time we listen to the ghostly sounds of the wind in some of the levels, we are reliving our childhood. But nostalgia isn't just where awe and wonder and fascination live. We can have those same feelings again if we allow Halo to take us there. If we don't forget to enjoy a little bit of life, to take a moment to stop. In a world full of work, stresses and strains, it's important to know when to stop and pick up a controller. When to stop and steal away some time for you. To play a game. To relive those memories. And it's in those moments that fascinating and wonderful experiences are made. Halo has given us 20 phenomenal years of storytelling and engagement and memories. and Halo Infinite is literally just around the corner. And to my old battle buddies, my old clan, Infernus, Basiliscus, Necronus, Seraphicus and Infinitus and Draconus before them, I hope to see you again soon on the battlefield of Infinite. Together we had some incredible times, together we made memories that will last a lifetime, and I will never forget you or them. The unbelievable, insurmountable and outlandishly extreme things that could come about as a consequence of people working together towards a goal has resulted in the very franchise we have laid in front of us today. And whether separated by completely different eras of the Halo franchise, whether still within Halo or now moving on to other things, whether still alive or sadly past, every single person who has participated in Halo, in its development, in its play, in its larger communities, in its small niches, in its clans or on their own, every single one of us would only have experienced Halo as we have because we did it together. And to mirror a previous video on this very sentiment, for all of us, together, Infinite awaits. Halo has always been more than just a game. It's about the people and the moments and the memories that made Halo what it is.
There are very few games out there for me whose gameplay has aged as little as Halo's, and I pin that down personally to the classic gameplay loop, the combat triangle.
There's just something visually I love about that. Chief standing in front of the podium, Cortana rising, and the Ark exploding like a flower behind them. But I think there are other, perhaps greater moments. In Halo 1, for example, the obvious one is stepping on the ring for the first time.
When I started with Halo, my main method of engagement was the books, and that remains true to this day. My first Halo game, though, was Halo 2, often praised for its storytelling, and I would say for good reason.
There are reasons for that. There are very obvious reasons for that. There's something for just about everyone in Halo's expanded universe, and I feel like that's why it's got such a broad appeal.
Halo is something that I've enjoyed since I was 7 years old.
I'll hear something that sounds faintly like the piano chords from Marty O'Donnell's Halo 3 soundtrack, and I'm like, well, guess I'm playing Halo tonight.
I can remember being an idiot and not knowing how to fly the Banshee in CE, and I'd sit there and scream and cry at the TV because I couldn't do it, and my brother would grab the controller like, just give me that, you idiot, and he would be my hero because he would just do it.
The game that can balance a fun experience with an investing story is the game that will win me over.
There's a reason why people went crazy when they saw Chief again in that initial Infinite trailer, and it's because the fans lost track of him, and having him in the centre circle again satisfies all fans, because at the end of the day, no matter what we all like and dislike in Halo, whether it's gameplay, art style or modes, we all have one thing in common, and it's the Master Chief and our love for him.
Halo is about the men and women behind its development. It's about the people who gave voice and personality, and in some cases a face, to the characters. It's about the fans. Whether a fan, an actor, a content creator, or the developers themselves, we gamed together. We built friendships, had romances, got married, had children because of Halo. We stood out in the cold for hours simply to share the experience of a midnight launch of Halo. We brought Halo into the real world, built suits, costumes, armor, gadgets, weapons and vehicles. We rendered what was once digital into the real world. We've toiled for hours building entire independent games. We've pushed to unlock every secret, every mystery, every achievement in every game. We've carried each other into and out of battle. We've played more hours of Halo collectively than humanity has even existed. In 2010, 235,000 years of Halo had been played since Halo 2's release in 2004, and even if that rate remained completely constant by now, it would be somewhere in the order of 627,000 years of Halo played online. Halo played together. 20 years of Xbox. 20 years of Halo. 20 years of being together.
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 Together. Chief out.